Hey, what's happening, guys? This is Hermsen 2000 LM 2002, and this is my debut on the YouTube channel. So hopefully you guys understand what I'm teaching. I'm giving some math tutorials on here. Hopefully it'll help not only the people that go to my school, in case anybody else happens to stumble across it. Hopefully it can be used as some benefit. So let's go ahead and get started. In today's lesson, it is showtime, folks. Today's lesson is called Factoring Polynomials. Now, when I just say it, it sounds really gibberish and kind of silly right there. It's really not a hard concept if you don't make it more confusing than what it needs to be. Now, before we get started, though, and hit our 4 problems, and what I'll be doing basically on my tutorials is going over explain the concept of it, then go over about 4 problems. But first we want to do a little review. Now hopefully you know how to do this, or you at least seen it before. What we have here is 2 binomials, x plus 4 and x plus 5. They're called binomials because there's 2 terms in each one of the parentheses right there. And my job is to find the product. Now hopefully there's a way to find the product. There's a term for it. It's called FOIL. Hopefully you've heard of it before. What it stands for is you're going to multiply the 2 first terms, x times x, that's x squared. You're going to multiply the O, that stands for outside. You're going to multiply the 2 outside terms, that's x and 5. X times positive 5, since that's a positive, is going to be positive 5x, so write plus 5x. Okay, the I, that stands for inner. Now we're going to go along the bottom, my 2 inner terms, the positive 4 times x. Positive 4 times x is positive 4x. So, just write plus 4x. And then the L stands for last, the 2 last terms. So 4 times 5, that's going to be 20, so plus 20 right there. Now, there's a way to condense this down. It's a process called combining like terms. Well, there's 2 terms that are alike here that you can put together. And it's the 5x and the 4x. Both of those numbers have regular x attached, no x squared, just regular x, so therefore they're like terms. So what you can do is take 5, positive 5, and add 4. It's going to be 9x. So you drop the x squared down. 5x plus 4x is plus 9x. Kind of writing sideways here. Then plus 20 at the end. And then that right there is my product, and that's my answer. Now, the goal for today's lesson, as I said, we're doing what's called factoring polynomials. What we just did, we went from here, multiplied it out using FOIL down to here, and got x squared plus 9x plus 20. Now, when you factor, you go from here back up to here. They start with this. This is what they give you, and they'll say factor it. So, let's get rid of this. It's gone right there. And our job, they give us a problem like this, and our duty would be to come up with what this looked like before I multiplied it out. Like what would go in those 2 parentheses. On this one, you already know what it is because we just did it. It's kind of obvious. Hindsight's 20/20. But let's hit some problems and discover there's a thought process that you want to follow to go from here to here and factor it out. Get it to look like what it did before you FOILed it, before you multiplied it out. Okay, so let's hit some problems. Factoring polynomials. If you're taking notes at home, you probably want to write that. Factoring polynomials. Okay, first one we're going to go over, and I'm going to go over 4 problems, and they kind of all work a little bit differently, one slightly. There's variations to these, and there's more than one way to skin a cat right there. I mean, there's probably other videos on YouTube that show you different procedures, and if this doesn't do it for you, you know, go try to find one that will. But I'll do my best job that I can. So, factoring polynomials. The first one I'll give you is x squared plus 14x plus 48. Why don't you write that down or hit the pause button. And by the way, it's why they have the pause button on YouTube. You know, if I'm going too fast, pause it, get it written down, and then hit the play button. So, what we have to do again, get this to look like what it was before we multiply. Well, we know we started out with 2 parentheses. So, always set up on these problems for today, 2 parentheses. Now, we have x squared. What times what gives you x squared? Well, it's not a lot of options. I think it's just only x times x. So yeah, it is. So put x and put x, because x times x is x squared. Now, we got to put numbers. If you recall back to the last problem, when it said find the product, we had x and then a couple numbers right here. Let's find what those numbers are. What you do to find the numbers, skip over the 14x. That becomes important later on, and let's go to the 48. What I'm going to do is create a little graphic organizer. I'm going to put a T-chart, and I'm going to put that 48 up top so you know that's the one we're focused on. And what I need to do is find 2 factors of 48. Now I'm going to write this right here. I'm going to erase it later, but I think maybe you want to write this down. 2 factors of 48. Now 48 has a lot of factors. 1 and 48, 2, 24, 3, 16, 4 and 12, 6 and 8. Can we just pick any of them? Well, no. The 2 factors that you find of 48 have to add up to the second term, the 14. So those have to add to 14. So as we said, 1 and 48, you know, that when you add those 2 factors, that's 49. That's nowhere near 14. 2 and 24, that's 26. How about 6 and 8? Yeah, 6 and 8. 6 plus 8 is 14. Come to it eventually, you just got to look. Okay, so put 6 and 8. Those are my 2 numbers right there. Now the signs. Now there's a way I like to do signs right here. I like to look at the middle term right there. Circle that. That always goes in front. Whatever sign's there always goes in front of your bigger number. Has to. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Now, for the other sign, you got to kind of think logically. When you multiply 6 times 8, you got 48. And 48 was positive right there. Well, the only way to get positive 48 is if the 6 is positive as well, because positive 6 times positive 8 is 48. If that was negative 6 times 8, that would be negative 48, so they have to be positive right there. So, there's a factoring. And the nice thing about these problems, here's what you'll appreciate. You'll know whether you did it right after you get, after you get the answer. There's a way to find out if you did it right. I'm going to erase these 2 things right here. And the way to find out if you're right is to multiply it back out using the FOIL that we just did. So take x times x, that's x to the second power. O, outer, x times 8, that's going to be plus 8x. Now the inner, 6 times x is plus 6x. And then the 2 last, 6 times 8 is 48, so plus 48. Now those 2 down at the bottom, 8x plus 6x, we want to put those together. Those are our like terms. 8x, positive 8x plus 6x is 14x. So x squared plus 14x plus 48. And now let's compare it with the original problem. It should look exactly the same. Same numbers, same terms, same signs. X squared plus 14x, 14x plus 48, 48. Sure, you got it. Checked out. Okay, this is actually my answer. I shouldn't have drawn those arrows because that's your actual answer. X plus 8. X plus 6 and x plus 8. That's your answer right there. Parentheses x plus 6, parentheses x plus 8. Okay, let's go on to the second problem.